Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Geek and I podcast. My name is John. Tonight, it's a movie review of something called Tetris. If you're as old as I am, you know what Tetris is. Let's bring in Jeff and Deb and see how accurate it is to real life. Jeff has been doing some research on the Tetris movie. He has played the game, as has everybody else. We have I've watched it twice already. Jeff, how many times you've watched this thing?
3 times so far.
So far, and you going back for 4?
You know what? It's a good movie. I should buy it on Blu-ray or something. See if there's more special stuff behind the scenes. I don't know.
And Deb, how many times have you watched it?
I've only watched it once, only because I had other things I had to watch, and because I do so many of these shows. So it would be one I would watch again, because I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff. I usually before I come on shows, I usually like to watch it a couple times, take notes. I only took a few notes for this because originally I didn't know I was going to be on the show. So, but yeah, I'd probably watch it again.
So, what is your first experience with Tetris?
Man, we're talking the 80s, man. We said I was doing research. Yeah, man. I've been doing research since the 80s.
It's too bad this wasn't a class in school, right?
Hey, back then, I was graduating high school, so I was playing Tetris when I got home, right before graduation.
So I guess the movie started in, was it 1989?
No. I believe prior to that, because 89 is when the game came out, and he found out about Tetris year after it was made. So it'll be 85.
Okay.
Oh, well, you know what?
So,
I lied to you guys. I lied to you. I was playing Tetris in 89, so therefore I was out of high school. Sorry.
Okay. So what?
Old age, man.
Yeah, it's getting to you. Maybe your hat's on too tight.
It's the Tetris blocks.
So, things that I found out about this game from the movie is the actual name of Tetris. Is it true that it's just based on Tetra, which is, of course, blocks of 4? That I can see. But the creator liked tennis and just...
That's true.
Decided. What does it have to do with tennis?
He likes tennis. As in the movie you saw, he was teaching his boys how to play tennis.
But how does that fall into the game?
The tennis element's not in the game, though. It's not like Pong. Well, I mean, Pong, at least you're hitting something back and forth.
He made a game that he loved. And if you're building a game that you loved, he had to name it something. So he named it something in Russian, loosely based off between, blocks of 4 and tennis. And when that's his game, he can name it whatever he wants. It was before, you have to remember, the Russians didn't have a lot of exposure the way we did with video games. So I don't think Pong was a thing over there.
So as far as the movie goes, what did you learn? What did you learn about the game from the movie, other than like I said, the name of it, where it came from, and I thought it was cool the way the original game was made using parentheses, because he didn't actually have a computer that was strong enough to run actual, I guess, 8-bit graphics. So he made it using parentheses. Do you have that version somewhere?
Yep. Well, you have that version available if you have Tetris Effect or Tetris Effect Connected. I have Connected. It was the upgrade version of that. It released in 2018. And when the movie went live last Friday, you were able to get new download. It was version 2.01 that they gave you, both the 1984 original Russian version on the keyboard, what looks like a keyboard version of it, which is the brackets. I don't think it's parentheses called. What are those brackets called? Because parentheses is this right here, right?
Those
No,
are
parentheses are the curved.
Oh, the curved, right? And what's
yeah,
the ones
those are air quotes.
the ones with the blocks? Yeah. So the ones with the blocks, you put those two little things together to make a square. And so playing that for the first time blew me away. I like that game. I played that after I watched the movie the first time, shortly after I played my originals, because I had to. Where'd it go? Here it is. I had to pop in my Game Boy version of this because this was based off for the Game Boy from that game. Pop it into my Super Game Boy because I don't have a Game Boy, and then played it in color on my Super Nintendo. But I just drove off the subject, didn't I?
No. It took me. I had to start it 2 or 3 times because I kept getting lost while I was watching it. Because I would see things and I'd be thinking to myself, "Oh, this reminds me." I don't know if you've watched the show *Halt and Catch Fire*.
No.
Oh, that was if you like Tetris, you got to watch *Halt and Catch Fire*. It's about IBM stealing the first personal computer from a company, from these guys that invented the personal computer, and it
really?
ends up. It's really cool. It's such a great movie, and it takes place in Dallas and at Texas Instruments. And not to spoil it, well, I guess you should watch it. It's a great series. I think it has 3 seasons, but it's fantastic. So I had to start watching this Tetris movie 2 or 3 times because it started reminding me of the series *Halt and Catch Fire*. That was, I think it was on A&E or AMC. It was the series that was on when Walking Dead was on break. So
I don't have AMC.
Well, you can download it now. I'm sure it's available everywhere.
You pirate.
But but I do like the way that in this movie they kind of did the Pixels. Remember the movie Pixels, where they would turn into the game as they're driving the streets of Manhattan, and they turn into Pac-Man, and you see them chasing the. But this was really cool the way they did the switch in scenes going from say Japan to Seattle, how it switches to 8-bit graphics and then undoes the 8-bit graphics to return to normal film. It was just so well done. The soundtrack was great. And what's his name?
Debbie, you like the chase scenes, right? You said.
Yeah. I didn't like when they tried to incorporate the 8-bit into the chase scenes, and every time the car would hit something, it would turn. Yeah, I didn't care for that. It looked kind of wonky in a way. Maybe that's just me.
Did you like Pixels?
I liked it like what John was saying, when they would travel to Tokyo and it go pixel and then it would go to the actual building. That I liked.
No, that movie.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that movie. Pixels?
Oh, man, it's awesome. If you like video games, you like that. But anyway.
Yeah,
I
Adam
don't play
Sandler.
video games, so.
It's an Adam Sandler movie, so you're going to get a couple laughs out of it.
Okay.
And it has the other guy too, from King of Queens or something like that.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
Kevin
Kevin
Smith.
James,
Oh, Kevin James.
Kevin James,
Kevin.
Kevin James.
and then who's the friend? Um,
And a lot of
I
people. I just
can't
can't remember
remember. Yeah,
names.
and Dinklage is in it. So yeah,
There's your
Pixels is
Game
a
of
great
Thrones,
movie.
Debbie.
But as the movie goes along, you realize this guy had a lot of problems, and I guess when you're dealing with the Russians, they will do anything you can to prevent Americans from getting their licensing agreements. And it was pretty cool the way that the British guy, Mirasoft, what was his name?
Oh, the Maxwells.
Yeah, Maxwell, Mister
Now you know his
Maxwell.
daughter. You know his famous daughter that's famous in the bad way.
Giselle or
No,
Gazelle.
I thought it
No,
was Charlene, the
Oh,
one who's doing time for Jeffrey Epstein's buddy.
oh, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine, there you
That's
go.
his.
Elaine.
Is that
That's his daughter.
that's his
Is that his?
daughter? The whole family was doing really shady stuff, man.
Well, that
No.
explains a lot.
Yeah. Holy
Damn.
moly.
Well, that's his daughter. And when you see, this funny thing is when the movie coincides with the time frame of him trying to acquire Tetris and his stealing from his company, which is why he mysteriously drowned, because he didn't want to do time. So I think personal opinion, I think he killed himself and then left his family to deal with it, which is a terrible thing. But you know what? The whole family is screwed up anyway. So, but yeah,
And then wasn't the son blamed for his death somehow, or did they
he
did
was
they
held
allude to that in the
accountable.
movie?
No, not the movie, but that happened later on after the movie time frame, because that's when his daughter was mingling with Jeffrey Epstein, and his son was trying to take over responsibilities of the company. That's when, in the movie, you see a scene where they were shredding a whole bunch of stuff, and that's when he started getting concerned because he knew the company, he was about ready to take over it, and his dad was been stealing from the company for such a long time, So yeah, it kind of tied in a little bit between real life and really, really real life stuff that happened.
Wow, that's 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 breaking news.
Not really. She's in jail because Jeffrey Epstein decided to kill himself, like her father. Hey,
Oh, see now
let the
that's
family
where you
handle
need
it.
the parentheses. He killed himself. You need the parentheses there.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't
So-
rule it as suicide. I
Shh.
think he,
You can't say that word on this platform.
oh, I forgot to tell you. So the CES, you asked this question at the beginning.
Unalive.
People are gonna have to fast. Yeah. So CES was a real thing that happened back in the days, and it became stronger as time went on with the video game industry. But that's where you used to find out about the cool new electronics, be it TVs, cars, and whatnot. And that's where he found the Tetris game through another vendor. So
Right.
yeah.
Right, and that's when they went to CES in Vegas. That's what reminded me originally of like, oh, this is just like *Halt and Catch Fire*, where it's kind of true, but it's based on actual events, type of thing. And
You want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Hollywood version versus reality?
Yeah.
All right. So here, which one do you want? The highlights only? It would take forever to go through it detailedly.
Yeah, whatever
Okay.
as long as it's interesting and I
Okay.
learn something, I am fine with however long it takes.
All right. Well, let's talk about the fluff. Number one, KGB, where they go to the Tokyo office to harass his wife, didn't happen. Did not happen. But it makes for a good movie scene. Now, the translator who helped him out was not really KGB. She was just a plain person helping him out. That was more Hollywood fluff. And that main villain in this movie, the guy who was trying to outsmart the other Russian operators, that one guy that was always driving around the car.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, fake guy, but multiple people claim, like that does happen, but not one sole person was in control like that. Russia doesn't work like that. The KGB doesn't work like that, and especially during Gorbachev? Yeah.
Close enough.
What was his name? Gorbachev, right?
Gorbachev.
Gorbachev. There you go. I'm not saying
right. You still got it wrong.
But this was before the wall came down, before Reagan and him decided to do it right and become a non-communist country. Now, that happened in real life shortly after the Tetris thing, but not during the fight of getting the game. So once again,
right, because that was in the post credits.
Yeah,
or
that race for time didn't happen. The race for time was not a thing, but it makes for a good movie. And pretty much that's the fluff stuff. Everything else, how it's told, the main characters, the main players, the guy who invented the Tetris, and the guy who was trying to get the rights from Nintendo. That's all true. The people behind trying to do the rights to Nintendo and put the game out. The guy who made who I think he came up with Mario. He has hand in making Tetris for Nintendo, being for the Nintendo and the Game Boy. He had a big hand in that. I think they briefly mentioned him in the movie. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff that was real there. All the cool players were there. It's just those few players that wasn't really,
right.
It makes for a good movie.
Yeah, no.
It's not a documentary, man.
No. I would love to see a documentary on the actual events that happened to this guy, because to start off by going, like you said, to CES and then having his assistant be playing the game and the assistant actually finding Tetris and having him play it. Is your cat fooling around with your keyboard?
No, I don't know. Like I said earlier, backstage, we've had tornado warnings and whatnot, so I don't know if my internet is just popping in and out or what's going on. Or maybe it's just me.
You have to hide in the closet real quick? I want you dying in a tornado on live TV here, or live show.
I would either be here or in front of the
Russians.
TV. I don't go hide anywhere. I just, it's gonna get me. It's gonna get me. I don't have a basement, so.
Oh. You see the cat flying around you.
Yeah, no, it's neither of those. It's Pooty Poot. They're talking about our Tetris again. Terminate her signal to the live stream. Take that off. So
Now, John, say moose and squirrel.
Moose and squirrel.
That sounds better from a chick.
What was the little guy's name?
Bullwinkle.
The little guy.
Oh, the little guy? Oh.
Was it
Yeah.
Ivan and Natasha?
Yeah, there you go.
Ivan. Yeah,
I don't
the
know if
one
Ivan's-
played by
Not
Robert
the movie
De
version.
Niro.
No, you're thinking about the movie. I'm talking about the cartoon, back in the days.
Oh, moose and squirrel. We get them. They have our Tetris. But yeah, no, I thought it was cool the way they showed that the assistant just stumbled on it because his game Go wasn't selling. Have you seen that game?
I didn't hear
You know
about it before. When I saw the movie, I heard about it.
Is it an actual game or is it one of those that's just been made up for
I
the
don't know.
story?
I didn't know about it. I didn't care to look into it because I was more Tetris mind, Start seeing the
Mm-hmm.
falling blocks. By the way, the falling blocks is a real thing. That's why it's called a Tetris effect. People who played the game when it came out played it so much because it's so addictive, which is true, If you play it, But they started not only in their dreams, but I would be just thinking about Tetris, matching the blocks in my mind. It's a thing, man. And that's why they named that new game that came out Tetris Effect back in 2018, because they wanted you to put yourself in that dream state type of absorbance. If you play that new version, it's really trippy, really cool.
So maybe our researcher can check and see if there was anything a real game called Go.
Oh,
Was
let
it
us
sorry.
know
go? I
what.
thought there was 2 words. Was it like go go or something
No,
like
I think it was just called Go, and he wasn't
She
selling
Google's
it.
Go. That's pretty. Well, there's stop. There's go. Then Simon Says
And
comes
then
up.
it says he just fell in love with it. He said he played it for what, 5 minutes, and all he could
you wanna
see
hear
was the Tetris blocks.
you want to hear something funny? The guy the actor who played the main guy who finds Tetris or tries to buy it, he's never played Tetris in his life until that movie came around. Well, until he started making the movie.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
he's a young guy.
Yeah, it's Taron Egerton.
Egerton.
I think his
I
name
like
is.
him.
Yeah, he played
From the
what was that?
from the Kingsman movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go.
He did
And Robin
Elton
Hood
John.
and yeah, and he was Elton John. Yeah,
Rocket
he's
Man.
good. Yep.
He's cute. Easy on the eyes.
All right, girls. It's been noted. Oh, you want to hear some fun facts about Tetris?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I got it right over here. So in 1984, he invents it, and as like the movie says, he passes it out to people because he works for the Russians to working on software. And then when it starts becoming like wildfire through Russia, which is all true from that beginning movie we talk about. And the funny thing was the guy who owned it, the rights. Well, they owned the rights. He invented it. It took him until 1996 for him to get the rights back all fully. And that guy actually really started a company. It's called the Tetris Company in 1996. And then, let me see here. By December 2011, I'm reading this here off the computer, Tetris sold 202 million copies, approximately 7 million physical units, and 132 million mobile downloads. And it's making it the best-selling video game franchise in history.
So, were there actually Tetris arcade games? Because that I've noticed. I've never seen a Tetris arcade.
Yes.
And how did it work? Is it like Space Invaders? That's all buttons.
You got a joystick. I think he had a joystick, and then because joystick was the arrow key, and then the buttons were player 1, player 2. But I only played it one time a long time ago. I just remember it being there, and it was a puzzle game. And I was like, I just wasted 25 minutes. I could be playing some Galaga.
So
maybe Arcade 1-Up to do a Tetris.
Go was
They
an
barely
actual
could do
game.
what they got. Go was?
What is it based on?
It's a strategy board game. And evidently, Yamauchi, the president of Nintendo, was actually, well, it says board game Go.
Well, yeah, because Nintendo used to be card games and board games and all that. So
Okay.
I'm not surprised that was part of it.
Yeah, so
That's right, because he said it in the movie.
Yeah, he liked it, so he developed a version for Nintendo that was called Black Onyx or something like that. So yeah, evidently that's true.
I forgot about that.
So after he goes and he sees the Maxwells, because the guy at CES told him that they own the arcade rights and the PC rights.
No, I think the computer rights you talked about that time, and later on they found out about the arcade. Because I think the PC, because they're there on a PC showing him Tetris.
Okay, so he it was PC rights,
Yeah.
Console,
Nope.
and arcade.
PC only. PC only. Then it
But
became
that's
Arcade Net.
but that the guy, what's his name, from Captain America,
Toby
Doctor.
Jones?
Yeah, Dr. Zoloff.
Yeah, Robert Stein is his name in the movie.
Right. Yeah, he says that they own PC rights, arcade, and console, and that's why he goes to what's his name? Kevin? Is his name Kevin? No,
The
Kevin
son?
is Kevin Maxwell. Who's the who does Taryn? What was Taryn's name?
Hink. What a weird name. Henk.
Oh, right, because he's Dutch.
Yeah,
Right.
I kept wanting to call
Yeah.
him Hank.
Yeah,
Dutch living in Tokyo.
Rogers, right? Dutch. He's Rogers, Captain Rogers.
Rogers. Duck
So-
Rogers.
He goes and he talks to the Maxwells because he wants handheld rights after he went to Tokyo, correct?
He was trying to get the console rights first.
Yeah.
Then the handheld came into place because, remember, he was going to sell a console version because that's what he was working on, a console game for Nintendo. Then they go, hey, come over here. I want to show you something. Game Boy. No one heard of handheld gaming rights until he started, loose lips sink ships kind of thing.
So then he goes back to the Maxwells and he wants to talk to them about handheld rights, and then that's when they say we own the rights for every version. No question. It's like there's no question. We own the rights for everything. And then he gets a phone call, or was it? Did that happen before he got the phone call from Nintendo? That said, woke him up in the middle of the night and said, Maxwell's got the console rights and they sold it to Atari? Or was that
Yeah, it happened a little bit later.
That was after their meeting, though, right?
Yeah, because he was trying to get the handheld, and remember in that scene, he goes handheld. They're like,
What the hell's a
Because they were
handheld?
thinking about, because they were thinking about computers and arcade games, and then the Atari thing, because Nintendo and Atari, that's been bad blood for a long time. Because Atari was the godfather of video games, and here's old Nintendo in '85 going, "It's me, Mario."
Wow. So those Maxwells, well, I think it all goes back to Stein, right? He's the guy that was lying to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He
you
was just
have
not.
him who's lying to everybody. Then you got the Russians who are trying to play both sides, trying to get the best. I mean, talk about corporate greed, political greed. Yeah, or corporate politician, corporate or corrupt politicians. I mean, this movie had everything. I was just like, I cannot believe all this happened over a freaking video game. Mind blowing.
And what is the time frame? Do they ever say how long, like from beginning to end, how long it lasts?
Well, it was during Cold War, and it ended shortly after the wall, right?
Before.
Right before the wall came down.
So basically, 84 he invents it. Between 84 to 85, it gets known in Russia. 85-ish CS and 85 for 86 year. He finds out about it, and he spends that whole year of 85 trying to get the rights for Nintendo, because Nintendo just came out. It was brand new. They had Mario. They were looking for new games, and then the Game Boy came out in 89. So now 85 to 89 is your two marker. Okay, so between 85 and 89 when it came out, you have to keep that in mind. For that year time, they had to get the rights and then make sure everything's all their ducks in a row, and then make sure that they don't get screwed. And that's why when they say about, I don't want to say it because I want to cuss on the podcast, but when they say, Atari, because they really hated Atari.
Right. Because that was a little confusing to me, because the time span was a little. They didn't really mention. Well, they didn't mention, like how long, like, and I guess maybe I missed it, but did they put dates up? Like, did they say like
they would put years up? They would put years up. And the thing was, and I hate it when shows do this, because they would start like in 88, but then they go back to 84, and then they would go back and forth a couple of times. I hate it when people do, or when movies do that. I'm just like, just go in order. That's all I need to know. So I can keep it straight with my senior brain.
But for the most part, the movie takes place in 85, because 84 he invented it. It's been out there for a while. So that's your marker, 85. And then Game Boy came out in 89. And so that's the reason why, that gap right there, real time, is where a lot of things took place. Now in the movie, there's really showing you about the 85 year, trying to get the rights and all that. And once again, Hollywood fluff. There was no chasing. There's no last minute thing to the airport. There's no Russians hunting them down. But thanks for a good movie.
Yeah, no. So we have on the side of the good guys is Rogers, and that's about it, right?
I can't pronounce his name. It's like Pavel, Pajitnov.
Alexei, is that the guy who created the game, Alexei?
Oh, right. Okay.
That's his name, Alexei? I forgot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was his name.
I'm bad with names. I'm really bad with names.
But I'm looking at here.
Oh, yeah. Alexei, Alexey is how it's.
Alexei, yeah.
Alexei, yeah. That's smell in German. No, in Russia for Alex. Alexei. Go figure.
Yeah, Alexei, Lexey. And I won't pronounce his last name because I'll just butcher it.
I couldn't. I looked at it like, no, I'm not even going to try. I can't get Gorbachev right.
Well, you got it right that time.
There you go. I knew it was going to come back one day.
So, and then on the guys who are not so good, we have the Maxwells. So those two. And then we have...
Let me ask you guys this. When you watched that movie, did y'all really knew who the Maxwells were? Or are you just following the...
Never heard of them.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't.
See, that's the thing with me. When I saw them like going, oh, here we go. They're crooked. But go ahead, John. Sorry.
Well, I
was curious if you guys knew
crooked.
the main players. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I knew they. I'm wondering what else they stole from everybody. You know, what other games?
The Britannica books, the Britannica encyclopedias that they're trying to barter with. That's a real thing. They're trying to give them the rights to the Britannica encyclopedias in exchange for Tetris.
That's a bad trade-off.
Well, yeah, David said that in the movie, and we all know this as Americans. Like, nah, man.
Right. So you have the Maxwells, you have Stein, you have the KGB, like the KGB. That one guy from the head of the bureau, he was like Stein, selling everybody, and double crossing everybody for a payday, and nobody knew it. And then I guess you would say the guy from Elorg that was interviewing and kept coming in the room and then going out of the room and then coming back.
Yeah,
I guess you could say he was a good guy. He was a good guy too.
Nikolai Belikov. He was the director.
And he was the only reason why Nintendo owns the rights to this today, because he was actually a good guy who did the right thing and not follow the communist Russian way.
Right. Yeah. I started to like
Otherwise,
him towards
we would be
the
playing
end.
Tetris the way we have been.
Yeah, you'd have to find illegal copies like he had. Like when he brought the cartridge in and gave it to him, and he's like, this is not a real cartridge. We no license this.
Because all they had was floppy disks.
Yeah, so everybody was screwing everybody, and this guy was in the middle. And
not in the fun way,
it's
too.
Funny. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun to look at it, and the way they set it up towards the end as to it's this game Tetris that, and this is the way that I caught the ending. Was it's because of Tetris that the communism fell, and the wall came down is because of Tetris, because that's the way they made it look over the end credits.
For people who are born after that, I can see that being a misunderstanding. But for us who grew up with the Reagan years and all that. Yeah, we all know what happened. And I think U2 has something to do with it too, right? The band U2. Did it do that song?
But overall it was I liked the movie. I could probably watch it again.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I do plan on going back and watching it. I just didn't have time to do that.
And I'm wondering why this is now. Do you think this movie would have done well in theaters, or do you think it's a streaming? Man. It's a streaming movie.
Who won the licensing rights to the movie?
Well, evidently Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would have done well in the movie theaters. But then again,
competition for Mario.
I'm a hermit, so I don't like to go to the movies, but I have to for some of these shows. So this would have been one I would not have went to the movies to go see. I'm happy it was on Apple.
And then at the end, when they do like the
what happened?
Pictures of everybody, and you're like, oh, he doesn't look like Egerton, or this guy
Yeah.
doesn't look like.
They were close. They
I
look
don't
close. If you
think
watch
so.
the dude, watch the documentary that's right underneath the movie. It says, there's special features. There's one, the real people behind Tetris, and they talk to the daughter who's in charge of Tetris now, from Roger's daughter. Alex is there
the one
talking
that
about
was
how
the singer, the one that he missed.
The daughter.
yeah,
She's in
the daughter.
charge
She
of
took over.
Tetris now.
She's
Maya.
the CEO of Tetris. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they mentioned that. That's right. Yeah.
And they still own it to this day. Both of them, both alive. They own the rights. And when you boot up the Tetris Effect game, you see all the copyrights, and it starts out with the actual dates that Tetris has been available to the public since 1989 through current. And, the name of the company, who was it again? Tetris Company. Yeah.
Well, the guy who played Kevin Maxwell, he looks pretty close to the actual
Yes.
Kevin Maxwell. Robert, kind of, sort of.
I agree. You should do the side by sides like they did on the documentary.
Yeah, well,
Oh, there you go.
I don't know how to get it to where you can actually see it. Yeah, Toby does
There you
not
go.
look like Robert Stein.
Oh, cool. You found it.
Yeah. There's Robert. He kind of looks like, but this Kevin dude, the guy that plays Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty close.
Yeah, it's
And then that's like the president of Nintendo or whatever. But yeah,
Nintendo.
some of them were
Yeah.
pretty darn close and look wise.
Yeah, the Kevin Maxwell comparison looks like Sheldon and what Ant. It looks like Sheldon and Ant-Man. What's his name?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. Yeah, it looks like it's a side by side of Sheldon and Ant-Man. So 3 out of I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think
Debbie.
it's worthy of a 3.5. Maybe
I give it a 4 because I do like movies or TV shows that are based on true stories. I love behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, I'm not a gamer. I played Pong when I was younger, and Miss Pac-Man was my jam back in the day. But as of right now, in my older years, I'm just not coordinated enough to do all those things. And
right.
I tried playing Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars, and yeah, I pretty well sucked at that too. So I
Yeah,
like to
could
watch
not
people play it, but
I couldn't do that one either because I never played a role-playing video game before. So, during the fights, I'm hitting the buttons like, "Come on, why isn't he swing?" And my son's like, "Because you have to wait your turn." I'm like, "This is stupid."
yeah,
You're
if
used
I-
to the beat 'em ups.
Yeah, I'm used to Mortal Kombat.
There you go.
yeah, single player is probably, I mean, I played Facebook games, although that's nothing compared to some of this other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've watched my kids play video games. They all play Star Wars and Red Redemption or whatever it's called. Yeah, my youngest one who
Right.
lives with me, he plays a lot of games, Halo and all those. So I'm just
And
not.
speaking of Facebook games, all those games that they advertise on Facebook and Instagram, they all, I guess, are cousins to Tetris. What is it? Gem
Yeah, the
Smasher, or
Jules,
Jewel, and all
or
those
Bejewel.
Bejeweled,
Bejeweled. Yeah, all those. I guess you could say they're all cousins of Tetris.
Wasn't for Tetris, they would have existed.
Oh, if we
Did
only
you
had
ever
a
play Tetris,
world.
Debbie?
Hmm?
Did you play Tetris?
No,
Never played it before?
no, I've never played it. I've heard
You
of
like
it and I've seen it played, but I've never played it.
Wow.
And as you know, all I ever had was a Vectrex. So I've I played Tetris over a friend's house who could afford a Game Boy. So we could never afford an updated system. So I never, it wasn't one of those things where I played day and night because I could not afford one.
Yeah,
Well, you know what's funny? Sorry, David, go ahead.
the Pong, which was Atari, I believe.
Yeah.
My older brother had bought that, and that was the only way I played that. Miss Pac-Man, I had to go to Chuck E. Cheese where they had the arcade games, and that's where I would play that. I'd spend my allowance, or maybe I had a job at that time and would spend a lot of time eating pizza and playing Miss Pac-Man at the Chuck E. Cheese arcade. Woo, I was cool.
Right. Well, that was back when Chuck E. Cheese had an arcade.
Yeah.
Now,
Now it's
do you know
now
who?
it's just tickets.
Do you know who invented Chuck E. Cheese?
Nintendo? I have no
Joe
clue.
Biden.
The guy who founded it. The guy who founded Atari.
Really?
Yeah, that was his second business he started, and he put his own video games in there because he went from the arcade, the dark world of arcades to family-friendly environments, and that's why you got Chuck E. Cheese because of him.
Well, I do have to backtrack. When Nintendo 64 came out, of course, my kids were young at that time, and 007 GoldenEye was huge in our house. We also played a lot of Star Wars Pod Racer. I was pretty decent at that one. But yeah, that's my extent of video games.
It's because you stopped.
Video games didn't come into my house until the kids wanted an Xbox. And that was
we had an Xbox. And I think we had
I would always
too.
even after high school and going to college, a friend of mine had a Super NES, and we would go, and that's where I played Super Star Wars, and over somebody else's house. It was never something in my house.
Well,
I did
had
have
to
a
save
Commodore.
up. Go ahead, John.
No, I was done.
No, I was gonna say for me, because I grew up at the birth of arcades and video games. Like Debbie was saying, Pong was a huge thing, and my grandfather from my mom's side gave me and my little brother a little Pong unit that wasn't Atari at the time. It was before they started doing that, but it was a different version, and we played it and enjoyed it. But for us, our very first console was the ColecoVision, only because it cost so much for these things back in the day. We had to save up for years, and so the 2600 became the 5200. And I think the television was out too, and the ColecoVision was next generation. That we had enough money finally saved up for one that just happened to be available for that price, and it just took us years to save up. But it's only because of my adulthood and having jobs is why my video games expanded into, the Nintendo and all that.
Yeah, see, I never had video games, and I was always playing baseball. I was out touching grass. So,
Ooh,
as you can see, I am the pillar of health. I am the pillar of health because of it. So,
I heard stories, man.
that's for another day.
Now, I got something to share with everybody. I don't know, John, if you're prepared for this or not, but if you have Tetris Effect, are connected, there is a way to get the 1984 game to unlock it permanently. Because right now, because of the movie, it's available to you. John, do you have that little thing ready to go, or not really?
No, no. We'll put
Okay.
the link. We'll put the link in the description because you loaded it up on your channel, right?
I put actually the descriptions in the videos on my channel, but I also just recently before the podcast posted on the Collector Zone Facebook page of the actual thing, what it looks like and how it looks when you unlock it, and of course the directions, so that way people should do it.
So I'll put the link into the description below. So anybody that's watching this that wants to play the original 84 version, you can just head on over to the Collector Zone. That is Jeff's channel where he dedicates himself to opening stuff, playing stuff, and showing you his goods.
Hey!
In a matter of speaking. What do you got coming up? What do you got coming up this week on the Collector Zone, Jeff?
Well, I'm still in the mode of a lot of video games to share. So you'll be seeing some video games from me. Not too long ago, I did a Charles Schultz book, which is really cool. So yeah, man.
Deb, what do you got coming up on Geek News Now?
Well, tomorrow night, 9:30. Yeah, 9:30 Eastern will be the Star Wars Cantina, or the GNN Star Wars Cantina Happy Hour, where we will be discussing Chapter 22 of The Mandalorian.
That was good.
Tomorrow,
Kind
right?
of, sort of.
Yeah, tomorrow night. And then Friday, I'll
Tomorrow night.
be right back here with you guys for the Star Trek Picard.
Yes, don't
Oh, yeah.
forget we are changing. Once Picard is over, we will go, I guess, Back to the Future, and we are going to do the, what did I call it? I don't even remember what I called the darn thing. Federation Friday, and
there you
we
go.
will be watching in order the original series from beginning to end until Strange New Worlds. Then we'll take a break for a couple of weeks for Strange New Worlds, and then head back into the original series. And what is there, 78 episodes?
78 or 76.
Original?
Yeah.
The original Star Trek? All three
Yes.
seasons? Okay.
Yeah,
It's
so
been a
there's-
while since I've watched the. Well, it's been
Yeah,
a very long time.
that's
since
I'm
I've
going to
watched-
enjoy. I'm going to enjoy doing that, and then I guess that takes us about a year and a half.
Are we gonna be
and
alive for all this, man?
We'll roll on into Star Trek: The Next Generation for the next 10 years, and then after that we'll hit DS9 until that brings us to 2183, and then after we'll do Voyager, which should bring us another 12 years into the future, and then Enterprise. And then by then, who knows? Maybe even Discovery will be good, and we watch those 5 years. But luckily, there's only like 10 per season, so we can get through those real quick. But yes, check out Jeff's channel. He's got the Collector Zone here on YouTube. Debbie is part of Geek News Now. She does the Cantina Happy Hour on Thursdays and MCU Mondays on Monday, and joins us here on the Geek and I podcast every Friday for what will be known in the future as Federation Friday. But right now it's just Star Trek Picard review. Until then, we will see you guys. We'll see you guys Friday. Don't forget, 7 o'clock here. We talk about the next episode of Star Trek Picard Season 3. Can't wait for that. Don't forget to check Debbie out tomorrow. And we will talk to you guys very, very soon. Thanks for playing along with us on the Geek and I podcast. We will see you next time. Have a great night. And we will see you
on the next one. Layers.